97.
Entrepreneurship is important is because we've been psychologically conditioned to stimulate the U.S. economy on their terms. So you go to school, you work a job, you get a check, you have kids who go to school, work a job, get a check, who have kids, and that's great for stimulating things like Social Security. But what that does for you is it keeps you in an endless cycle of middle class, and middle class is the new broke. Entrepreneurship gives you an opportunity to break the cycle.
There is a kind of stigma associated with millennials that we don't want to put in our work, we don't want to put in our time, so as soon as we start, 2 weeks later, we're looking for a promotion. Well, I graduated from college and I just thought that I was just going to be the fashion stylist to the stars, like holla at your girl, right? And it didn't work that way. So what that taught me is that I had a skill and not a business. I didn't have a brand. And you can have a skill, but if you're not visible, if you're not credible, if nobody knows who you are, then you're not making money. So I learned that the hard way. And then in building a brand, you really have to find out what people need and how you're gonna connect with them in an emotional place. So what that I'm can style people, I can make people look good. There's thousands of other people who can do the same. But when you are able to connect with somebody, and again, I help to prepare people through presentation, you know, that's meaningful. It's something that people care about, and it allows you to really build on that and be successful.
For me, it was easy. I have a daughter, and I think raising children of color in this country, especially at this time, is very interesting, because when you look out and you see what's happening, you see the social consequences of what happens when somebody else is writing your story. So when we say that Black Lives Matter, there's a reason, because somebody else has scripted us as violent, as thugs, as underachieving. And so when I look at that and I see what the trajectory for a young child, I said, I am responsible for creating an alternative so that when she grows up, she knows better than the lies that are being perpetuated in media. And it's not productive for us to sit there and point the finger and look at what they're doing when we're not doing anything to change the narrative and shift the narrative. Media is very powerful, and so the way that we show up in the world in terms of being intentional about our story, it was a no-brainer to empower people with the tools to tell your story that is a counter to the one that someone else has scripted for you.
A lot of people see models and think, oh, you just model, you don't do anything else, or what else do you have besides modeling? So I had to ask myself that. So that's when I, dug deeper and told myself that I want to, instead of having the myths about modeling and having people just call themselves a model, or thinking that to pose, have nude, or do certain type of shoots, you're a model. So I actually wanted to give back, in a sense, to provide the knowledge and to provide the coaching and the directing to actually assist aspiring models to do it the right way.
Absolutely. That was great. Yeah. Okay, so Dr. Shantae. Yes, you're in the hot seat. So in your podcast, Branding for Believers, you talk about what role fear can play into your professional and personal development. And many entrepreneurs are fearful about starting a business because of their lack of income. So or low capital pretty much to start a business. So what is your advice to those with a limited budget?
So that's one of the first things that people think. They think that to start a business, you have to have venture capitalists, that you have to have funders, that you have to have investors. And most of the people that say that aren't even leveraging free. How much does it cost you to get on Instagram? Well, I'm already on Instagram. But what is the value of your selfie? Unless you're Tyra Banks, unless you're Giselle Bundchen, unless you are the new Hollywood it girl, unless your last name is Kardashian, your selfie doesn't mean much. So if you're not leveraging the platforms that are currently available that are absolutely free to tell a story and a narrative about your skill set, about your level of expertise, about the people with whom you interact that are positive and influencers, so often that on social media, which is free, we're counting our followers, but we're not counting our follow-up. We're not counting our follow-through. And so when you're talking about, well, I don't have the money, what have you done with what was free? What have you leveraged when you had nothing? Because I'll be perfectly honest with you. So every year I have an event called DYOB, Design Your Own Brand, and I take 25 select entrepreneurial women with the potential to become blockbuster empires. And I launched that event exclusively on Instagram. And every year that I've run it, I have netted $50,000 in revenue. Why? Because I told a story and leveraged what was free. And so a lot of times when we say I don't have money, that's just the fear talking as an excuse, because if I sift through your social media, if I look at your LinkedIn profile, if I see whether or not you have a headshot, because I see plenty of people in here with cameras, okay, what have you leveraged with nothing? And it's not about how much money you have, because trust me, when you build credibility, money chases you. You don't have to chase opportunities when you build your credibility, but when you spend your free time and your free resources, let's see, hashtag Team Cute, hashtag Bestie Boos, you're not leveraging free. You're not leveraging what's free, and that's just real. And so if that's a story that you're telling on social media, you are devaluing your own property value, and that's not anybody else's fault but your own.
Yes, you hand for that. That's the truth. That is the truth. Okay. Well, speaking of social media, your following is remarkable. Like, you can just tell from scrolling through your Instagram page alone that you have an impact on your followers.
Thank you.
So how important is social media, if you can just give more insight on that, and what are some ways to use it to leverage your brand? So pretty much piggybacking off the question that was just asked, but just giving people more tactics and strategies to leverage it.
Okay, so here's the thing. I run across a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs. So for right now, let's call them wantrepreneurs. Okay, you're not an entrepreneur, but you're a wantrepreneur. And then I go to look at your social media profile and I see private. Okay, so that means, let me just bring you up to speed. In the world that we live in today, people will Google you before they call you. And so when they Google you, and even though you might be private, people have tagged you in pictures. And so when you are out there turned up, that's out there. Google yourself. Everybody, after tonight, Google yourself, okay? And don't do it from your home computer that has all the cookies that cached for your usual sites. Go to a Apple store. Go to a library and Google yourself and see the types of images that come up, because what comes up for you is what's coming up for the rest of the world. And so the importance of social media is that you literally have the power to craft a narrative. You can be America's apple pie if that's the story and the narrative that you create. Now, don't get me wrong. It doesn't mean that behind closed doors you don't have your fun, but does that have to be the public narrative? Because the thing about it is that the people that you, a lot of times we're worried about who our followers are. How many of your followers are influencers? How many of your followers are decision makers? How many of your followers are check writers? Okay, how many people can hire you and get you on a set of something like Empire, which shoots in Chicago? How many people are people that can make a difference in your life? And when you're private, what you're saying is that you don't want an opportunity, or that your story is not one that you want publicly told. And the thing about it is that you have to be willing to separate business from personal life. And so your social media platform, you all have free tools at your disposal, so that when people Google you to see if you are who you say you are. Oh, I'm a stylist. Who have you styled? Oh, I'm a blogger. And you haven't blogged in 3 months.
Being a model, you probably have some haters out there.
Shade.
So how are you able to turn that negativity into positive energy to fuel yourself?
I don't even like that word.
That's
So, and actually going off of what she said as well, you have to keep the blinders on. They're not going to be any type of relevance to your career, to your outcome, to your life. So, I mean, it's pretty simple. Keep the blinders on, stay focused to what you're actually working towards, do your research, get credible advice.
As a branding strategist, you understand the importance of image. So how does appearance play a role in connecting with other professionals, like in your first interaction with them?
Absolutely. So your image is a first impression, and it gives insight as to what type of person you are. So the style of dress that you choose, the occasion that you choose that style of dress for, all those things are indicators of what you may be like. And we all, we call it judgment if we may, but we all are able to look at somebody and in 5 to 10 seconds kind of sum up their story, or at least what we think is their story based on how they present themselves. So when you're talking about presenting yourself in front of a certain audience or wanting to appeal to a certain audience, when you're in Rome, you got to do as the Romans do. You know, if you want to be a millionaire, you need to master the look of wealth. You need to have professional presence. And so you can miss the mark if you're not gearing your appearance toward the audience that you're seeking to attract.
Absolutely. And the next question, women come in many beautiful shapes and sizes.
Yes, Lord.
So what are your top tips for dressing for your own body type? And what would you say is the top clothing piece that every woman should have in her closet?
Well, of course, every woman should have a blazer.
Yeah.
And I love white blazers because they're so crisp, polished, and clean. They just do something to you. But I think a blazer is great because you can have on a t-shirt and jeans and some chucks or some Toms and throw on a blazer and instantly look more authoritative or more powerful, more polished and professional. So definitely everyone should have a blazer. As far as dressing for your body type, I think it's important to not really look to trends because every trend is not for every person, not only in the style of it, but also maybe not for your brand. So, you know, I like to say I can dress a politician in club clothes and she can be on fleek, but is that the countenance that she needs to have in front of the audience that she wants? So, you know, while she may look nice, it's not a relevant or effective image for her. So know what your body type is. Me in particular, I'm thick in my midsection, so I go for structured pieces, you know, that create that shape for me. You know, I'm not really all the time like the bodycon person, so you have to know who you are, what works for you, and try some different things out. But definitely be signature. Don't rely on trends to guide you.
Definitely. So speaking of signature, you work with different entrepreneurs and they all have different styles. So how are you able to help their style shine through their wardrobe?
Yes. So I believe that your wardrobe, that you should wear the clothes and that the clothes shouldn't wear you. So in branding anyone, you have to really get to know them. And so I really start off with questionnaires, consultations, even studying them, seeing what they naturally like, what they, you know, come out in, and really work from there to kind of guide their decisions as far as wardrobe. And then I'll suggest some pieces, say, you know, maybe you want to try a little bit of this or try a little that to achieve the desired look. But a very interesting thing that I've discovered is that you can have good pieces, but you may just not know how to put them together. So I love, even aside from shopping, just to go into people's closets and see what looks I can put together from there to give some additional insights as to, you know, how you can wear a look, because we'll go to the store, we'll buy a look, and we'll tend to wear that look the same way every time because it's like the old faithful, we know it works. But what if you buy a suit, a two-piece separates, you wear the blazer with something one time, you wear the skirt with something, you know, you switch up the shoes and accessories, statement accessories, and you totally change the look. So really guiding them in what they're comfortable in and then what would be good for their brand in that perspective.
So to all you lovely ladies, in three words, define your entrepreneurial purpose.
Inspire, impact, influence.
All right.
Before and after.
Yes. And is a word.
I'm all about transformation.
Yes.
Before and after.
Absolutely.
I would have to say inspire, develop, and motivate.
Definitely. And pretty much, of course, we're all trying to build our own empires. So what advice do you have to those on the journey of building their empires?
I go first all the
Yeah,
time. Nobody else
okay.
wants to go first.
We're going to start with you.
So advice on building an empire. I would actually say connect with other relevant forces around you. So don't be afraid to network. Don't be afraid to reach out as I have did. I understand that I don't know everything, and research, yes, it only does so much, but I feel like connecting with other like-minded individuals will assist you as well. Some people have more knowledge than you. Some people can provide you with more information and assist further. So I would just definitely say don't be afraid. And again, the quote always comes to relevance. Never rely on what you think you know.
I agree with that. You know, Jim Rohn has a quote that you are the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. And so if you think about the 5 people in your life that you spend the most time with, ask yourself, where are they going? And some of you will come to the realization that everybody can't go to the mountaintop with you. Everybody is not meant for that. And you can't be afraid to go there alone. But what I will say is be true to who you are. You know, they've done research about, you know, the top 5 regrets of the dying. And the number 1 regret is that they didn't live a life that was true to them, that they lived a life that was expected. Because let me tell you something. Newsflash. The plan that many of you have, go to school, get a degree, get a job, that's everybody's plan. And there's only so many jobs to go around. So basically you are investing, some of you in college, tens of thousands of dollars to be cookie cutter instead of investing in being signature and stand out. And so follow your heart, follow what is true to you, because otherwise you will find yourself in a career that might pay very well, but you hate it. You have sold your soul to corporate America and you're just like, wow, really? It doesn't excite you, it doesn't make you happy. And the bottom line is this, is that what's truly the burning passion in your heart, don't be afraid. Somebody needs you to show up, okay? The reason why, what do y'all call them? Dots? The reason why they're out there is because we don't show up. That's real talk. They run for the camera, but we run from the camera because, oh, I'm not ready. Oh, I'm not enough. You are enough. Right here, right now. You don't have to be an expert to tell your story and empower somebody else to do the same.
I would say one of my greatest pieces of advice, you know, there's so much that's going through my head because I live this, right? Where I live in this. But I would say protect your brand at all costs.
Yeah. When
you show up at the right places, you'll realize that the circle is small at the top. And so it seems like you're everywhere, but really you're just with this core group of right people that everybody is looking to. So protect your brand and brand by association. So look to those people who are better than you. Get in their circle. Also, I will say that consistency is extremely important because none of this stuff is created overnight. So people look at it and say that it's glamorous. And even for myself, I started working when I was in college. So 5 years in of being consistent. This isn't 3 months, a day, stop. This is consistent work in a 5-year period and finally being able to show up because of the tracks that I've laid. So if you're really serious and passionate about what you're doing, stay consistent with it because it may not turn over overnight, but it will. And my last thing that I'll say is someone told this to me and they said feedback is a gift. Don't be so stuck that you can't listen to the feedback of those around you. Take it, process it. You know, as long as it's coming from someone that's in the right spirit when they deliver it to you, that's in a spirit of love, consider it because they have an out-of-the-box perspective and you're in the box. And so you need to know what others around you are saying and thinking because the perception that you may be giving off could be different from the perception that you're intending to give off. So you need to make sure that your translations are clear in order to be effective in your brand.
Well, let's give these 3 ladies a round of applause.
Hey, you know I got experience, so you know I just wanted to experience.